Hey, this is Andrew Jones. You watch On Deck with Tyler.
Hey guys, Mike Fullnever's here. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Hi, this is Phil Necro. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
This is Walk the Banks. I'm on deck. Tyler Redmond.
Welcome into On Deck. I'm Tyler Redmond. As always, make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell for notifications so you can stay up to date with everything going on in Braves country. Also, you can follow me on social media, Tyler Redmond at BubblegumJesus. That is on Twitter and Instagram. So I wanted to get this one to you a little bit early since the Braves play so early today. They play again at 1 o'clock today versus the Marlins in the final game of the series. But we're going to get into the recap here in just a second. But before we do, I really wanted to shout out one specific guy who played in the game today, and that is none other than Max Fried. We all know the woes that the starting pitching is having right now, and it was important that he came in and had a solid performance, and he did just that today. He went through 6 1/3 innings pitched. He only gave up 4 hits, 3 walks, and he got 7 strikeouts. What a solid performance by him. But let's dive into the recap real quick. So both teams' bats were really quiet up until the 7th inning. That is where Ozzie would lead off for the Braves. He would hit a home run to left center field, 418 feet, and that would make it 1-0 Atlanta Braves. Hoyt would come in for Miami, and he would pretty much shut it down after that in the 7th. And the Marlins would respond in the bottom of the 8th inning. Really was going to be worried after that solid pitching performance by Fried that the Braves were going to choke and give it up here at the end. But Will Smith was actually pitching for Atlanta here, and he would give up a homer to lead off the inning to Harrison. That would make the score 1-1. The Marlins would tie it up. But Will Smith would get out of it without giving Marlins the lead. So, top of the 9th inning, the Braves immediately respond. It would be Kinsler pitching for Miami. Ozuna actually struck out swinging to lead it off, but then Duvall would hit a solo shot 387 feet to left field, 2-1 Braves, and that would be the final score. So not a ton of offense put together tonight for either team. Very low scoring game, 2-1 ball game, but the shining light is Max Fried. And you got to wonder, before we get into Max Fried again, you got to wonder with the offense, is that because you're missing out, the Braves are missing Ronald Acuña and Ozzie Albies right now. We've talked about that extensively. And you got to wonder, is that a factor? I'm sure it is. It obviously is. There are 2 spark plugs in the lineup that you're missing out on for the foreseeable future. Ozzie is currently on the injured list. Acuña went on there today. He will be out until Friday at the least. So a lot of people are wondering, is it time for Cristian Pache? And as of this morning, we thought Acuña was going to be back in the lineup as early as Monday. And we thought that he would avoid the injured list, but that is just not the case. Today, the Braves placed him on the injured list with left wrist inflammation, and this is similar to that Ozzie Albies injury that we spoke about earlier, and that only happened a little over a week ago. So now you're missing Ozzie Albies and Ronald Acuña, 2 heavy hitters in the lineup, and not to mention with all the starting pitching injuries and problems that the Braves are having, this is exactly what they did not need, any effect of the bats. They didn't need any of that, and much less to somebody like Ronald Acuña and somebody like Ozzie Albies. Since Ronald left the lineup, the Braves are 1-3, and since Ozzie left the lineup, the Braves are 3-5. So losing records on both of those, obviously. The Braves have really been on a bad stretch. Before last night, it was a 4-game losing streak for the Bravos. So Acuña will be eligible again on Friday since the transaction is backdated to Tuesday of this past week. And the lineup is far from the biggest issue that the Braves have. Obviously, it's the pitching, but it could use some beefing up. So the question we've been asking for a long time, is it time for Cristian Pache? I believe so. If Acuña was only going to be out over the weekend, I would hesitate to do that. But he is on the 40-man roster, him being Pache, and he won't lose an option if he moves to the Major League club. So the Braves could use some help. We all know when they needed help at the beginning of the year at the catching position, they brought up Alex Jackson and William Contreras, who, by the way, performed exceptionally well in that role. Could they bring up Pache? And I know a lot of you are going to say, what about Ender Inciarte? Give him some starting time. Give him some reps. And I love Ender Inciarte, but his performance this season so far is just not up to starter level. Even in the field, his glove hasn't looked like it has in years prior, so much less his bat. He just hasn't really done much. And we've all heard about Cristian Pache's glove. In fact, earlier this year, I actually asked my buddy Kevin McAlpin to just speak on his talent during spring training and what he had seen out of Cristian Pache at the time. And this is what he had to say then.
Defensively, Cristian Pache could start in the big leagues tomorrow. I mean, he's ready. His glove, his arm. We saw him play all three outfield positions. Didn't necessarily look overly comfortable in right field. He'll be a center fielder when he gets up to the big leagues. So defensively, he could play in the show tomorrow. It's his bat that still needs a little bit of work. And remember, up until a couple of years ago, in pro ball, Cristian Pache had never hit a home run. Now, those numbers have certainly gone up. Power is coming around. He's still, filling out. I mean, losing some of that baby fat and evolving into a man. I mean, he's coming into his body. So I think that will come with time.
But will his bat let him contribute at the major league level? Let's take a peek at his stats for a minute. In 2019, through 487 at-bats, he had a .277 batting average, a .340 on-base percentage, 802 OPS, 61 RBIs, 12 homers, and 122 strikeouts. Granted, it's the minor leagues. Players don't always perform up to expectation, nor do they always have the same stats that they would in the minors. But what else is he doing, right? All he really has to do this year is to either come up to the major league club or play his own team in Gwinnett, which, all respect to those guys playing in Gwinnett, it's not like playing another team. It just isn't. So why not give him experience in this time? The Braves could use, some excitement. We could use some excitement. The whole club could use, some excitement. If you remember last year when Austin Riley came through, how much hype was built around him because how many homers he was hitting. And by all accounts, Cristian Pache is that guy. He is the next big thing for the Braves, at least as a position player. So why not give him the time? That's just my point of view. We'll circle back around that in just a second. But in case you're wondering how I feel about Kyle Muller and Ian Anderson, if you missed it, last night the Braves played an earlier game than the actual Braves versus Marlins. They had a Gwinnett versus Gwinnett game that actually aired on Fox Sports. And it was Kyle Muller taking on Ian Anderson head-to-head. And each one of them gave up a homer. One gave up a homer to William Contreras, that would be Ian Anderson, and the other gave up a homer to Peter O'Brien. So other than that, it was strikeout after strikeout, and they really looked good. By all accounts, they really looked good. And if you missed the Braves game last night, you missed a lot of interesting comments in the post show, in the seventh inning stretch show, all of those where Brian Jordan says, I expect to see Ian Anderson next week. I'd like to see Pache this week. I feel the same way. Let these guys come in and compete. Let these guys light a fire under everyone else. Everyone on the roster is strained right now, especially the pitching. But without two key pieces in the lineup, we have to look around and find that spark plug. I believe that spark plug is Cristian Pache right now. I'm not saying he's going to replace Acuña. I'm not saying he's going to be able to put up the numbers that Ronald Acuña is able to put up. But I do think he can help fill that gap while he's gone, at least. And I don't think the Braves will want to put him back in the minors once they bring him up, especially if he's successful, because what kind of precedent does that send? But could that create a trade opportunity if he is successful? Maybe. I mentioned Ender Inciarte earlier. I don't think that is a terrible idea if we can find someone to take him and maybe go get a starting pitcher and maybe just some help around what we need at pitching. I think that is certainly a possibility if he comes in and is successful. So what about the ankle? If you remember, Pache actually got hurt in summer camp a couple of months ago. He got hurt sliding into second base. I was actually watching that game live, as I'm sure a lot of you were, and concern went wild. This is the next big thing, and he's hurting himself already. We haven't really talked about it here since then. I haven't really given you any update, but he is healthy. He's been training at the alternative site, and it was only a sprain. So nothing really to worry about in terms of Pache's ankle. But I'm going to be honest here. I really think it's time for the Braves to explore all options being the prospects. And Soroka's out, right? That's your ace going into this year. That's what we all thought was that was the ace. Now it's Max Fried. So maybe instead of the trade deadline and trading to get someone big, give the opportunity to the guys that have a future in the Braves organization, right? The Kyle Mullers, the Ian Andersons, the Patrick Weigels, the Tucker Davidsons, right? Not a random pickup like Robbie Erlin, who will be pitching today. Someone we know, someone within the organization. That's not a knock on Robbie Erlin. That's just, I think it's time for these guys to get the opportunity. What else do we have to lose? We are now 12-10. We have 38 games left. The Braves either need to put up or shut up, and I think it's time to put up. So this is just how I feel about it, but when we get these guys up, I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. When we get these guys up, we cannot expect greatness immediately. Look at Kyle Wright right now. Everybody thought he was going to come in and really pitch well, and he does pitch well for a limited amount of time, and then he falls off. That is normal. I expect to see more of that once Ian Anderson comes up, once Tucker Davidson comes up, once Patrick Weigel comes up, once Kyle Muller comes up. I expect to see more of that, especially on the mound. But this season creates a lot of new questions, a lot of new opportunities, and a lot of new concerns. And the only way pitchers are going to improve is by pitching. So look for them to have larger roles in 2021, 2022. That's what I want to see. I want to see them have experience and be able to perform next year. So again, this is just how I feel about it. I'm sure many of you feel differently about it, but it could very easily happen. It could very easily not happen. I want to know what you think about it in the comment section below. Tell me, do you think it's time for Cristian Pache? Do you think it's time for Ian Anderson? Do you think it's beyond time for some of these guys, or do you think we need to leave them where they're at? Let me know in the comment section. Also, make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell for notifications so you can stay up to date with all things Braves baseball. And of course, you can also follow me on social media, Tyler Redmond at BubblegumJesus. That is on Twitter and Instagram. Enjoy the game today. Again, 1 p.m. tonight. It will be the final game of the series. It's tied 1-1 right now. So make sure you tune in to watch that. Robbie Erlin will be taking on the mound for the Braves to start it off. But of course, it will probably be a bullpen game today. So check that game out, and I'll have the recap for you tomorrow right here at On Deck.